be live. Boop. There we go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? Hope we've all been enjoying this fine Monday. So last time we finished off by getting Leningrast's key and talking to him. We picked up some fairly basic equipment. We're gonna keep pressing into the Cardinal Tower. Further into the Forest of Fallen Giants. I forgot to get water before I started streaming. That is my own fault. Alright, so we should be able to use the short sword here. It's not necessarily better or worse than what we were using now. But we can get those barehanded parries now. Oh yes. I don't think we found any better chess pieces now. Gonna move my lamp some, because it's like right in the corner of my eye and kind of distracting me. Hopefully the brightness is still fine, yeah. That may even be a little bit better. Hang on. I'm trying to get it just right. That's better. Yeah, that's fine. Alright. Here we go. So this door is locked, but there is a solution to this. We can knock it the fuck down. And the short sword is also a pretty good tool to use to smack this Titanite lizard down. Bugger can be pretty quick, so by the time you realize that he's there, especially on your first time through, you might already be dashing about. But we'll go ahead and pick up his items. We get 2 Titanite shards. Those, again, are used for weapon upgrades. Here we get a hand axe and a radiant life gem. The hand axe is new. Can take a look at this. More of a tool than a weapon. Its short range necessitates close range and therefore perilous combat. It does a respectable amount of damage, however, considering its relatively lightweight. We can play around with this for a second. It's nice to have equipment that we can actually one-hand. Hollow Soldier Helm. Helm worn by hollowed royal soldiers. It's same tidbit of information as is on the other piece of equipment. Just another friendly reminder. Oh, if we walk over here, that guy will get up and come after us. Just a friendly reminder that if you missed yesterday's stream for any reason, down below my beautiful face and our video game here is the link to my YouTube channel where you can see all of the videos on demand. They will be uploaded to YouTube for posterity because they only last so long on Twitch, and I don't really want my videos to get backed up with hundreds of thousands of videos as I keep streaming. Gonna drop down here, get this divine blessing, and then we're gonna take a look at everything we picked up from that chest. Actually, I think I missed a chest too, didn't I? I always forget about this chest for some reason. Maybe because it's hard to see in the darkness. Small leather shield and repair powder. Small leather-covered shield, a particularly traditional type of small shield. Small shields are very light and easy to use, but not very stable when attacked. Nope, not at all. That's what that looks like. To me, it looks like a big, giant eyeball. But it's a shield for now. And then we also got our small white sign soapstone. Online play item, leave summon sign. Be summoned as a shade to help another world in order to help that world's master for a certain time. You will be rewarded for successfully assisting the other player. The effect is not long-lived as that of the white sign soapstone, and it is used only in particular places. So there are more limitations on the small white sign soapstone than the regular white sign soapstone. And when you're summoned in, you only need to kill something like 10 or 15 enemies before your duty is complete. Then you are returned back to your world. And you are provided with a small, smooth, and silky stone, I believe. Hey, Swerve Star EX, what's up tonight? Hope you had a wonderful Monday. I know I did. Mine was pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and refresh our health here. I just heard a ping, and I'm not sure from what. It was a Blizzard app, I think. Yeah. Also, shout out to Mechasonic43 for the host. Thank you very much. Oh no! Oh, I gotta kill you because I forgot that this halberd guy sneaks up behind you if you're not careful. Got him! But it's all good. Life gem. So we can head across here. Another guy who's sleeping on the job. Come on, man. You know what will happen if management sees you sleeping on the job like that, man? You gotta be on your game, man. Not a lot, just chilling. It was a pretty nice Monday indeed. Glad to hear it. I worked in the morning. Then I came home and fell asleep for like 2-3 hours, so it was pretty nice. Got a solid map in. Down below we can see that there's some items to pick up, a lot of fire and a scary looking beastie. We won't be down there for some time, however. And here we see a fog gate across from us. A very well hidden hollow that we can see is moving there in the corner, and a locked door. We'll come back to that later. Got him. So I've been thinking about additional things that I could stream. Maybe to break up the Dark Souls 2 playthrough. Especially because I'm going to be shooting to stream pretty much every day. Might be nice to do some other things. One of the things that I was thinking about doing... Don't go that way. That way is nothing but death. Oh! Hello, friend. Swerve Star EX says, I don't think I've ever actually looked down at the place where all the fire and the scary beastie. I think I just always figured it was all on fire. It is not all on fire. It's mostly on fire. It's on a lot of fire, but not totally on fire. That is like a later game section. We're not going to be worried about that until much, much later. And it's technically optional. Technically optional. As I was saying, though, I've been... Whoa, that was way early on the parry. thinking about some other stuff I might do for the stream. Because like I said, I do plan on streaming pretty much every day. And it's not that I think people will get sick of watching Dark Souls 2 or Souls in general every day, but I will get sick of playing it. That's what I'm really worried about. And with a game like this, I want to clear out these bow users that are shooting at me from around this arena. I will get sick of playing Dark Souls 2 if it's the only thing that I play. The awkward thing is, I don't want to start like another game that requires a big time investment. The main focus is going to be on Dark Souls 2 for the time being. I'm trying to think of other things I can play that the stream might be interested in. Like once, maybe twice a week, to just kind of break up the Dark Souls 2 streams. Something fun, maybe a little less intensive on using my thinker box that you guys might be interested in seeing. One thing I was thinking about doing is a World of Warcraft Iron Man challenge. Basically what that is you level from 1 to max level using basically only items that you get from random world drops and quest rewards. And if you die, that character is deleted. It's kind of like World of Warcraft hardcore mode. It's something that I thought about attempting. I need to put a little bit more consideration into it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just daydreaming.
Let's see what this character has to say.
My name is Kale. I am a traveler like yourself. I'm navigating the continent to create a map.
So this is Kale the cartographer. I know I kind of jumped back into it like pretty quickly, but this is Kale the cartographer. He's making a map of Drangleic. That's what he's talking about here.
Why cartography, you ask? Well, that's a good question. When I first came into this forsaken land, it was a curse? Something about a curse? How embarrassing. I seem to have lost my focus. But I do know one thing for certain. I have always been very fond of maps. I came to this land some time ago. Drangleic, the Lost Kingdom. It sounded so romantic. Have you seen Majula? Oh, there's a rather spacious mansion there. I've made it my temporary home. Well, as something of a squatter, I'm afraid.
The Lost Kingdom of Drangleic. So that means one of two things. That can be interpreted in one of two ways. Either it's the Lost Kingdom of Drangleic. It's been forgotten about. But a lot of people seem to end up here for a place that's been forgotten about. In that interpretation, it could be that people are just drawn to Drangleic because it's a place that undead are naturally drawn to. You know, a place where undead... What's the best way of putting it? Kind of like the fact that there is some sort of cure, allegedly, for the curse in Drangleic. So undead are just naturally drawn there because of the cure. If you subscribe to the idea that Drangleic is in the same physical location as Lordran, then it could be the first flame drawing undead to it. Kind of like how undead were drawn to the first flame to begin with. That I don't really agree with. And the main reason I don't agree with that is in Dark Souls 1, you learn that undead are told to go on pilgrimage to Lordran. They're not drawn there by some sort of supernatural force, right? They're told that this is their fate, this is their destiny. They have to go to Lordran, land of the gods. The other interpretation is that Drangleic is just, it's lost, not necessarily forgotten about, but the kingdom's been abandoned and ruined, and it ceases to exist as kind of its own sovereign nation. Let's see what else Kale has to say.
Inside the mansion, I found a strange map, like none I'd ever seen. I believe that it's a map of Drangleic. Now I'm traveling the land to prove it. Yes, that's it. That's why I came to the kingdom. Wait, no, that wasn't it. Then what? I don't seem to recall. Were you looking for that map? Wonderful. Then you're fascinated by maps, just like me. Shame on you. You should have told me before. Here, take this. A key to the mansion.
So we get the house key. We'll look at that in just a second.
What a joy to meet a kindred spirit out here. Incredible, really, isn't it? Such a map to be chiseled in stone. Oh, but one thing. I would not venture deep into the mansion. Now, I can't be certain, but I've heard disturbing noises. Something about it feels wrong. Just be careful, please.
He warns us of something going on deep inside the mansion.
I'll be back in Majula soon. Perhaps we will meet again and discuss maps at our leisure. I'll be back.
Okay, that's all of his dialogue. So, in his dialogue, he reaches a point where he actually forgets why he's come to Drangleic to begin with. He mentions something that it might be something about a curse, but he doesn't really remember. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute, I came to Drangleic because of this map. And then it occurs to him, like, after he says it, no, that can't be why I came to Drangleic, because I didn't find out about the map until after I got here, right? So we're going to see this kind of reoccurring theme throughout most of the characters that we meet, where they forgot the reason why they've come to Drangleic. So there is actually a reason why people come to the lost kingdom of Drangleic, but most of them seem to forget what that exact reason is. Now, I am unaware of, at this point, or I can't think of, any specific reason why that might be. I don't think there's any clarification in the lore as to why people forget the reason why they came to Drangleic in the first place. It's possible that many people have just been in Drangleic for so long that they have just totally forgotten why they came here in the first place. Got him. Alright, we can drop down over here now. Oh, he dropped an item. Hollow soldier's leggings. We already have some of those. We can see through this grate, this wooden grate, that there are enemies on the other side of it. An item we can pick up right there. We can't get to this until a little bit later. We will be going over there. But here is another Titanite shard. And I somehow totally forgot about a whole other section that is totally optional, but we did miss it. I'll have to go back and do that. Might be a good idea to just go back and do it now, because I also forgot to buy a firebomb. So we'll do this a little bit in a weird sequence, because sometimes I forget to do things in the right sequence. We are actually going to go ahead back to Majula. I'm going to go grab some water real quick, because like I said, I forgot to get myself some before I started streaming. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Alright, that's better. My mic cable is... There we go. It was tangled up a little bit. Okay. So, since we can, we might as well go ahead and head into the mansion now. Over here. Use the house key, which I forgot to check out. We're going to do that real quick. House key. Key to the abandoned house in Majula, received from Kale the cartographer. In the past, Majula served as a dumping ground for horrible things, but is now a gathering place for those with no better place to go. It seems that this house in Majula was the final home for a few such souls. Suggesting that people have died in the house. Kinda spooky. Majula used to be a dumping ground for horrible things. What kind of horrible things, I wonder? Well, we should learn more about that as we progress further along. Get our first Pharos' Lockstone here. Stone activating a creation of Pharos the Vagabond. Pharos the Vagabond was a legend who wandered the lands creating contraptions to help those in sincere and dire need. The scope of his travels was so wide that Pharos has been mistakenly credited with many inventions that were crafted by others. So these are kind of keys in a sense. There are Pharos contraptions all throughout Drangleic. And those stones activate the contraptions. We will get to one of them not soon, but in the next few parts for sure. We can explore upstairs, see what's going on there. I have like an itch in my nose that's not going away. Upstairs we have a treasure chest. This is a good treasure chest, I'll tell you. It's 3 Titanite shards and 3 more counters on our torch. Nothing else out here, just... we can see the piggies. But they can't get to us because they can't climb walls. Alright, we want to head back down now. I think I'm going to switch over to the Morning Star for now. Yo, those pigs want us. Over here is the map of Drangleic. There's no marked landmarks or anything like that, so it's a little hard to tell right now where everything is, what everything's supposed to be. But we will be coming back to this later on in the game. As for the sounds Kale the cartographer was hearing from deeper within the mansion, well, maybe the previous tenant wasn't so happy about Kale the cartographer moving in. I wonder if Kale thought about that at all. Maybe not. Get a human effigy from that. Top ourselves off, might as well. We can light up this sconce if we want to. I don't believe it does anything. But if you want to, you can. Get another Estus Flask shard, very valuable. And in this special chest, we get a soul vessel. A vessel that will accept your souls. It can allow reallocation of levels, but without proper assistance, it may simply drain you of souls. If you truly wish to start again, go to the place where your journey began. So, one of the complaints in Dark Souls 1 was that your level ups were permanent, right? You couldn't reallocate your points. The soul vessel is kind of a solution to that problem. It allows you to reallocate your level up points to respec your character, change your character build. We might be using a few of those throughout our journey. We'll see how it all goes. Some people think that the soul vessel might actually be a lord vessel. Or rather, the lord vessel from Dark Souls 1 is really just a glorified soul vessel, right? Something that contains souls. And there might be some truth in that. We'll probably talk more about that when we get to Dark Souls 3. Because we may not really touch upon it at all more in Dark Souls 2. Alright.
Is that a shard?
Yes, it is a shard that we found. Bring up our Estus Flask a little bit more. And I think I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I already got my strength and my dexterity up to level 10. I think I'm going to go ahead and use these souls over there with Moglin. Want to pick a couple of things up.
Oh, hello.
Besides, we need to spend souls with Moglin to progress his storyline anyway. We have a few different shields. The Iron Parma actually isn't bad, all things considered. You also have the Silver Kite Shield and the Twin Dragon Great Shield. I'm not going to read any of this lore quite yet. And then we have different equipment sets, including the infantry armor. The infantry armor is the kind of unmolested version of the hollow infantry armor. For now, I think what we're going to go ahead and do is buy the hard leather armor and the hard leather gloves. Yeah, that should be good for now.
Thanks very much. And do please come
It is heavier than what we're wearing, but it is, of course, also better armor, so... Gonna go back to our straight sword here. Whoa! That's what we wanted. There we go. Alright, now we're going to do the sequence that we should have started with to begin with. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the first weapon that we really kind of care about for using it in the playthrough. We should also be able to buy a firebomb if I'm not mistaken. No, we need 200 souls. Alright, we'll be back up here in a second to get that firebomb. Man, so fast. So fast. The short sword is actually pretty good in the sense that it's a very versatile weapon. Oh, okay. Yeah, the short sword isn't very strong, but the fact that it does have like the regular sweeps that you can use to hit multiple enemies, and it's also got the thrust attacks on the R2. Jump attack style 0.0. Yeah, that may have been the whiff of the century right there. And unfortunately, it's not like I'm recording and I could just edit that part out. No, it's now on stream on the internet forever. Turns out Uzuki is bad at jump attacks. Ding. Whoa! There we go. Got him. Chug some of that Sunny D. Some of that delicious Sunny Delight. Alright. This guy, though, he's coming for us. Got him. That was way early. But it's all good. All good in the hood. I have thought about maybe doing a halberd run, because the halberd can be pretty cool. Halberd is real strong if you do it right. Yeah, some of these guys are actually non-hostile to you. Excuse me, my throat's a little dry. Have you ever had that where, like, you're talking and then you're fine, and in the middle of whatever you're saying, suddenly your throat just like dries out and you're like, yeah, that's what just happened to me. Some of these guys who wander around here are non-hostile, which is kind of neat, but I don't think it really serves any story function, if I'm being honest with you. And then here we have some old ironclads. These guys cannot be parried. I have tried, and I have failed many times. There we go. There's some jump attack style bullets. Oh! I thought that was gonna kill. Oh well. Just chuck a throwing knife when in doubt. Old Ironclad better be protecting something pretty cool, yeah? 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 Aww, just a foot soldier shield. A small shield used by Drangleic foot soldiers. A clearly makeshift shield that does not offer significant defenses. The only advantage of this shield is that it makes parrying easier, which is true, because it's a small shield. Considering we're not really using our shield as a shield to begin with, we can play around with it some. Because I do not like the look of the eyeball shield. Or I call it the eyeball shield, anyway. I had that literally just this morning. I had just had something suddenly scratching my throat in mid-sentence. Yep. Yep, it happened to me 2 minutes ago. Whoa. You tried there, buddy, old pal. A small, well-kept secret of Dark Souls 2 is that there is actually an item sitting up over here. A few life gems to be had. Before I interrupted myself, I was saying that I've been thinking about doing a halberd build. Now, the problem with that is that the halberd's a very clunky weapon, right? The main reason for that is due to how it works. I'll talk about that in just a second. I wanna talk about this little hovel here because I haven't really mentioned this at all. As we approach, we see enemies that have been, you know, turned to stone, or people that have been turned to stone. As we look down this cave, we see a lot of fire. It's kind of a nice build-up to when you turn this corner and see a salamander at the end of the tunnel. They're called salamanders. Fortunately, he can't hit us here, but it is a cool little segment in between breaths. You can run up here, roll into this room. You'll be safe from his fire, where we can get a chest. The problem with the halberd, so I can finally finish my thought, has to do with the way that the weapon hitboxes do and how hit registering works, right? The thing with the halberd is that the most powerful section of the weapon's hitbox is at the axe part at the top. And if you hit with the hilt, and if you don't land a hit with the axe part, then you do literally like 45% less damage, something like that. So you really need to get used to using the halberd correctly, otherwise you totally gimp yourself with damage. So I don't know if I want to do something like that necessarily. Let's take a look at this fire longsword. It is a regular longsword. It's not a special weapon or anything. It's a regular longsword, just with the fire enchantment. Standard straight sword. This straight sword is sufficient in most respects and effective in most situations if wielded properly. Those who aspire to master the sword are certain to wield this at some point during their journey. And we certainly will be. It's It's going to be a useful sword for us in the short term. Because I'll be honest with you, I still have not decided exactly what I'm going to go with for the build. Last time I was playing through the game on stream, I was going with like a dexterity rapier build. The thing with that is that that's the build that I've used for like the past 2 or 3 runs that I did in Dark Souls 2. Let's see if I can make this jump. Yes, got it. Nailed it. Thank you, thank you. I will be here all week. We got some prism stones. Yeah, I just, I don't know if I want to do another Dark Souls 2 run where I'm using a rapier weapon. Take a look at these prism stones. A slightly warm rock emits a beautiful, phasing aura of 7 colors with a very rare 8th. The prism stone does nothing special, but if you feel you may lose your way, it can serve as a path marker. People have come up with very creative uses for prism stones over the years, but its implementation in the game, its specific implementation, is if you're afraid of getting lost in an area, right? As a kind of marker, you can go ahead and place a prism stone. So now that will persist, right? I don't think there's a timer on them. I think they last until you return to your bonfire. But now there's a marker on the ground, so I can go through and say, okay, I've already been to this location. I've already been to this specific spot. Let's continue exploring. So as you can see from our effect on our weapon, we are now dealing split damage between physical and fire, and we just got a firebomb so we can save 200 souls. That's pretty nifty. So this has its pros and cons. The upside is, if we face against enemies that are particularly weak to fire, we will deal extra damage to them. The downside being that... Well, the downside is kind of twofold. In the sense that, one, now we're dealing split damage, which can be quirky in Dark Souls. It's not an enchantment in the sense... I can show you the actual damage numbers on the weapon. You can see that it's... I thought I heard somebody coming after me. You can see, if we look, physical attack, fire attack, the actual damage of the weapon is split into 78 and 78 in physical and fire. So it's not like a conventional RPG enchantment where this is the base damage of the sword and then you deal additional fire damage. It works where it takes like the attack total of the weapon and then splits it into two different type of attack damages. The major issue with that is now when you're attacking an enemy, it's being calculated against 2 different types of defenses. So in some cases you could actually do a little bit more damage, in other cases you could be doing a little bit less damage than if you were using just a standard regular weapon. It's kind of about learning what different enemy types are weak to, if you want to go kind of with the route of enchanted weapons. We're just gonna rest at this bonfire real quick. And I actually want to change my helmet. Oh, I don't have the Hollow Soldier helm. I thought I picked it up. I guess not. I'm actually going to take this opportunity to go ahead and visit Moglin again. I think there is a chance that what I might end up doing is using the Grand Lance. I don't typically like using the Grand Lance because it's kind of like regarded as the sort of easy mode for Scholar of the First Sin. But at the same time, it is a pretty funny weapon to use. It's considered to be easy mode, right? Because it's a really good weapon that you get really early on in the game. So we see now Moglin is sitting in a different spot. Let's see what he has to say.
Oh, I was hoping that you would come. I've stocked some new things, and I thought that you might be interested. They've been selling rather well, and I may step up operations soon. I'm surprising even myself, to be honest.
See if he has any new dialogue.
Did I mention before that, well, I'm not from these parts? I was on a journey, and somehow ended up here. The desolation here was disenchanting at first, but over time, things started to turn my way. Yeah, I've got a good few regulars now. They're all strangely desperate and quite willing to pay a premium. Sadly, some of them never come back, but I try not to think about it.
So that's a really interesting bit of dialogue to me, because he's saying, well, I've got some regulars now. I'm doing a little bit better for myself. He's admitting that he's overcharging for his products, for what he's selling. But, you know, if people are willing to pay for it, might as well, you know, grease those wheels a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of interesting to me because I feel like it's a specific in-game reference to how time kind of warps in Drangleic, right? And I feel like it's kind of a fun little addition of Moglin saying, I encounter other player characters in Dark Souls 2. Like the time waves twist and turn, and I run into different people, and I don't know, I think it's cool. A weird overlap of like gameplay and lore.
Have you seen that warrior lugging that giant blue sword about? I'm no expert, but that appears to be a fine specimen. The monstrous thing has a peculiar design, quite unlike anything found in Volgan. If you should speak to him, would you ask him if he won't sell it? I'd have to take another look, but I'm confident I could offer quite a price.
He is referring to another character, Benhart of Jugo, who we have not encountered yet. We can, but we're going to save that.
I considered returning to my homeland, but I've decided to stay a while longer. I've started to turn a handsome profit now, and I can't bear to give it up. I considered returning to my home.
So that's all of his new dialogue. And of course, to go along with that, he has more equipment to sell. The Elite Knight Armor and the Royal Soldier Armor. It's a little bit more expensive, but it does have a little bit better stats than what we have right now. For the moment, I think we're just going to pick up the standard helm here. Might as well grab the hard leather boots while we're at it as well.
Thanks very much.
I don't remember the exact specific amount that we need to spend here, but there we go. A DIY warrior. With the warrior being the starting class. One of the starting classes. Let's head back to Cardinal Tower. And I will continue to put more thought into what weapon I'm ultimately gonna go with here. I don't know. What does the chat think? What sort of weapon should I go with? I'm thinking, like I said, I'm thinking either the halberd or the grand lance. But the halberd requires a little bit more technical skill. Than the grand lance would require. But also, on the other hand, the Grand Lance requires a lot more stats. So we might reach a part where we have to farm souls for a little bit just in order to be able to equip it. Ah, that set off the chain reaction. No big deal. Okay. What just happened? I was knocked off the map. Well, that would have been interesting if I survived. I was curious what would have happened if I survived that fall. I almost want to say the Grand Lance because the halberd was a big weapon in Dark Souls 1. That's true. The halberd was really popular in Dark Souls 1. And the reason why it was really popular in Dark Souls 1, it's still popular in Dark Souls 2, don't get me wrong. But it was a good, reliable weapon in Dark Souls 1. Had really high damage output. It was basically a higher damage output spear. And its scaling was like ridiculous too. It had really good scaling if I remember correctly. The halberds in Dark Souls 2 work quite differently. Quite differently. But I'm not opposed one bit to using the Grand Lance here. There we go. That's what we were trying to do the first time, but I was too far over in this direction by these explosive barrels and got blown up by those. Really? Oh my gosh, he survived that. That's hilarious. Yeah, he's running back up here. He's a hollow on a mission. Again, too early. And his health reset. That's weird, man. His health totally reset. Oh no, that was a different hollow who came running up here. That guy's still down there wandering around. This game is weird, dude. This game is doing really weird stuff. He's making his way back up here, though, finally. Let's, Alright, we have our throwing knives equipped because we want it to... Oops. didn't mean to take a drink of Estus. We want to take that guy out, and then we want to equip our firebomb here. No, not the dark sign. Not the dark sign, fam. Hopefully we don't mess this up here. Got it. That opens a shortcut back into the bonfire room. Also gets the attention of this guy here. Slip that parry in casually like it ain't no thing. Have a halberd guy here. Ow! That's not at all what I expected you to do, fam. Not even a little bit. Pop that free life gem. Yeah, I think I want to go with the Grand Lance myself after giving it a little bit more thought. So we're probably going to end up doing a Grand Lance playthrough. And here is probably one of the most awesome intros to any fight I've ever seen. This giant bird drops off this huge knight, heavy armor, and we immediately fuck that up because we have no adaptability. Boy, oh boy. It's actually not necessarily a bad thing. But we do want to pop a life gem here. Adaptability is a dumb stat. I do not really like it at all. See, I keep on talking about adaptability. Oh boy, here we go. Yeah, you do you, buddy. You do you. The main problem that I have with adaptability specifically is the fact that your invincibility frames are actually tied to it. There's actually a stat in the game called agility. And raising your adaptability raises your... Oh god, that reached me. Raising your adaptability increases your stamina. Or your agility, rather. But I specifically don't like the idea of the stat just because your iframes are tied to it. And in my opinion, a game that's really based off of kind of tactical combat, right? And decision making on the battlefield. You're not forced to raise your adaptability, but if you want to rely on your dodge roll more than, like, let's say, just straight blocking, you have to raise your adaptability. Oh, broke his poise there. Nice. So that's the Pursuer. Oh, nearly forgot about this. I did forget about it, actually. Got a very rude reminder that these assholes get up to fight you. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Head over here. I think they will continue to chase us. Yeah. Oh no, they actually won't follow us into the bonfire room. That's good to know. Oh, no. Spoke too soon. We got there. The Pursuer can be fought in this location exactly once. If you beat him, you get the same rewards that you get if you were to defeat him in his regular boss room. If you run away, or if you die, the Pursuer will not spawn here again. The next time you'll be able to fight him is at the top of the top of Cardinal Tower, where his usual boss room is. But because we ain't no little boys, we went to Dr. Get Good's School of Getting Good. We were able to beat him here and get the rewards. We got where is it? Here we are. Soul of the Pursuer. Soul of the Pursuer who lurks in Drangleic. The Pursuer who seeks the bearer of the sign will not rest until his target is slain. Use a special Soul of the Pursuer to acquire numerous souls or to create something of great worth. They kind of changed the Pursuer a little bit. There are now multiple Pursuers in Drangleic, and we'll kind of see that a little bit more later on in the playthrough. And we got the Ring of Blades, which we definitely want to throw on here. Increases physical attack. It's a useful ring if you're a melee-focused player. The Ring of Blades is modeled after the Mad Knight of Alkin's weapon of choice. Increases physical attack. The kingdoms of Alkin and Ven long ago flourished on these very grounds. They were both founded by the same man, but were reduced to rivalry and spite. Interesting. So we have that up here for beating the Pursuer. We have Human Effigy, Life Gem, Torch, an Estus Flask Shard. It's always good to find those. And 1 Repair Powder. It's a pretty useful item in Dark Souls 2 because of how the durability system works. We're going to go ahead. Rest at this bonfire here. Head back to Majula. We got 20,000 souls to spend, or just thereabout. And we gonna spend them. We gonna spend them right. I think we'll pop these as well. So what I want to do is start bringing my stats up to the requirements of the Grand Lance. So I'm going to pull this up on the Wikipedia page real quick. Wow, it's heavy. I'm just trying to find, 22 and 18. So we need to get my strength to 11 and my dexterity to 18.
Is that however...
And we'll go ahead and upgrade our Estus Flask here. Whoa, why are we dropping frames? Oh no, maybe it's, just me? Yeah, maybe it's just me on Twitch's end. Are we okay? What is going on here? Twitch is like not loading properly for me. It's having some sort of brain fart. There it goes. Just had to reload the page. And we're back. Alright. Fixed it. So, 18 dexterity and 11 strength. Wow, we can actually almost hit the requirements to one-hand this weapon. Because we fall just short of it, I think I'm going to leave it at 11 and 18 for now and start bringing up my vitality. Actually, what we can do is bring down the strength to 10, keep it there, and bring vitality up to 15. That'll bring our equipment load way up, which we're going to need. We're definitely going to need it. I'm gonna want a higher equipment load. That should be good for now. That should be real good for now. So that'll also mean that we'll be able to start using our short bow here. We just need arrows. That's probably what I'm going to use the rest of my souls on here. Some wooden arrows. Yeah, might as well.
I'll be around.
Make sure we got plenty of ammo. Alright. So we did pass the 1 hour mark. I didn't do it yesterday. I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to take a minute to refill my water, stretch my legs, step away from my desk for a minute or so here. For those of you viewing on YouTube, the way that it's going to work is I'm going to turn the webcam off during the break. Actually, I have something even better. I have an image that I'm going to put up during the break. It's going to make it a little bit easier for you to determine when the break starts and when I get back, so you can kind of skip through the break a little bit quicker, rather than sit through the minute or so that I might be away from the keyboard. But I'm going to go ahead, take my break now. It's usually not that long. 5, maybe 10 minutes, depending on what I'm doing. But I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I recommend you do the same thing. Get up, stretch, take some water. And we will be back in a minute here. So I've been talking this whole time, and my mic was muted. Oops. I guess I must have muted it by accident and forgot to unmute it. Oh well, there's going to be a few minutes without sound. That's unfortunate. So, let me read this again. Great Soul Arrow. A spell superior to the Soul Arrow, more powerful and effective at damaging enemies resistant to physical attacks. The strength of this spell is influenced by one's intelligence. Our first spell. And we also picked up a new shield. Wooden shield used from ancient times, inferior to metal shields in terms of stability and physical damage reduction, but easy to use and weighing so little that it hardly requires any strength to bear. Swerve Star EX says, I'm so sorry, I should have noticed. I was too busy looking at memes. It's alright, it's alright. It's just on the VOD you'll see me spend a few minutes talking about the encounter that we had upstairs with the multiple knights. But of course I won't actually be saying anything because my mic is muted. Oh well. Mistakes happen when you're creating live content, unfortunately. Or perhaps fortunately. There's a lesson to be learned in that, isn't it? Isn't there? Titanite Slab. This is weird that they give you a Titanite Slab this early on in the game. But Titanite Slab used to reinforce equipment. Reinforces equipment up to +10. Titanite was discovered in an ancient layer of the earth and is said to be a gift of the gods. One of the original slabs that provided the world with all forms of Titanite. Titanite slabs were created to smith weapons of the gods, or so the legends say. And then, of course, one of my favorite rings in the game, Chloranthy Ring. The ring is named for its decorative green blossom, but its luster is long since faded. Raises stamina recovery speed, and it is fantastic. Especially when you get the stronger iterations of the ring, which we eventually will. We'll go ahead and violently knock on this door here. Got some guys to deal with. Ow. Alright, that's very rude of you. The baited parry. Oh, there's another halberd guy. I'll parry you too, I don't care. Oh man! That other hollow went flying. He didn't want none of that. He was like, I already got parried once, I don't need a second parry in my life. And these guys are... Is there a guy here? No. These guys, of course, are, No. Alright. They put invisible enemies in this game. They're not hostile. They won't attack you. But there are invisible guys. We will see one shortly. I have no idea where all of them are. Since your mic was muted, Swerve Star EX is asking, I didn't hear your answer. Are you on a quest to parry everything again? I am on a quest to parry everything. If it can be parried, it's gonna get parried. The life ring. An old ring set with a red jewel raises maximum HP. Each ring has a different power, and even very modest rings can be a great boon on a perilous journey. Pretty much the same thing as our Way of the Blue Signet here, the blue seal. Gives us a little bit more extra HP, which is nice. We probably won't use it for too long, but since we have 4 rings and 4 ring slots, there's no reason not to use it. But yes, Swerve Star EX, everything is gonna get parried. Everything deserves to be parried. We will parry our way through Drangleic. I will do this. I'm going to talk to Pate here so we can get his dialogue. I will do this section, but we're not going at it from the front. We can get at this in a different way. It's not necessarily easier, but you can do this a different way. Have a short conversation with Pate here.
Hello there. Traveling all alone in these treacherous times. Well, I hope you have a very good reason. Oh, hogwash. Who am I to judge?
I am actually...
My name is Pate. I journey hither and thither
You have a lot
on
to
a sort
say.
of treasure hunt, you might call it. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself.
I have to remember to turn my sound effect volumes down when I'm talking to Pate, because he's another character where his voice is very, very low.
Oh yes, you be cautious if you go any farther. There's treasure in there for certain, but the entrance locks from behind. I saw the same design earlier, and it's the same contraption, I'm sure. I was with this warrior, you see, and he insisted that he go inside first. The rather brusque fellow tried to swipe the lid for himself, but it trapped him inside. I still have the gent's ring. I do hope he wasn't harmed.
So he says he's seen this contraption before where you walk forward and then the gate locks behind you. Seems kind of coincidental that Pate was there at both of these incidents.
I'll leave this one to you. I'm worried about what might be inside. I'll leave this one to you.
Alright, well, he has nothing to say right now. We'll go ahead and turn our sound effects back up. We'll continue going through the area. This is now all cleared out thanks to us blowing up the barrels, except for these guys up here. This is part of this trap on this half. You have these guys up here, and they'll throw fire bombs at you. Oh, no, he's all the way back there now. Let's see if I can get an angle on him. Looks like I can. Too high. There we go. This spot is riddled with explosive barrels, right? And the kind of trick is that not only is there a couple of guys waiting here to ambush you, but these two guys up top will be throwing fire bombs down at you. It's a little unsavory. As I keep saying, they get very ambush-y, and they play very, very dirty in the Forest of the Fallen Giants. It's not a design philosophy I agree with, but that's the way it is. Hey, friend. No, I insist. Sit down. The dinner party is not over. Then we see two hollow soldiers just swinging at this corpse of a giant. It's a very interesting moment in the game. It's also easy money. Oh, that, I did not expect that to hit me. There we go, get that parry. Get that parry, son. And if you remember what Melentia was saying about trees or the corpses of giants becoming trees, you know, growing into trees, we actually have proof of that happening right here. This was a giant's corpse, and it's quite obviously growing into a tree. And you can even kind of make out the shape where the foot of the giant is turning into a root. So it's a pretty neat little lore aspect. And from a kind of design perspective, it's interesting to think about, because you have Melentia, who says, well, these trees are actually the corpses of giants, right? And out of these corpses, these trees are growing. Then she also adds to that and says, but don't believe everything an old hag says. So it actually puts it in the player's mind, if you're paying attention and thinking about it a little bit, it puts it in the player's mind that you're presented with information that she presents as misinformation. She presents it as a lie, really, is what she does. And then it kind of gives you this false sense of security, because the information that she tells you as a lie is actually turning out to be true. Meanwhile, characters in Dark Souls will tell you mistruths. They will lie by omission, or they will just straight out just tell you something that is not the case. And characters in Dark Souls 2 are no different. So it's just interesting, kind of like from a design perspective. We can see an item over there. We'll get that in just a second. Now we come over here and a shadow loads in, right? We see this over here, and it's kind of weird. Remember how I said there were invisible enemies that would not attack you? Why can't we walk past this point? What's going on here? Well, it turns out there's an invisible hollow just hanging out there. He drops a smooth and silky stone. A perfectly smooth and silky stone used to restore HP. The shine of this stone is no ordinary polish and can only be achieved over a long period. Some in this land are in search of some mystical stones. We'll find out who in this land is in search of these stones before this episode's over. I'll make it a point to go ahead and find that character, or characters, I should... Well, characters? Yeah. Let's go ahead and try and make this jump. I normally mess it up. Oh, yes, nailed it. First try. And we can... Yeah, I hear you. I hear you lurking down there. Slugging it. Slugging around. Trying to be cheeky. Get the drop on me. I got the drop on you, fam. And, for all my efforts, I got a light crossbow and a mail breaker. Oh, and an infantry helm, which is nice. Not as good as what we have, but I do kind of like the design of it. I think it's a little silly. It's kind of like that Spanish design of the conquistadors. I'm going to stick with our standard helm for now, because it's overall better. Let's take a look at this mail breaker. Whoa! It took a second for some of my weapons to load in. A slightly stubby thrusting sword has a sharp, sturdy blade designed for thrusting. The Mailbreaker has limited reach, but a powerful critical attack, effective against foes donning thick armor or with naturally hard skin. It's kind of like a cross between a dagger and a rapier, and it's not very good at all. Then we have the light crossbow. Standard crossbow. Equip bolts to use. Unlike bows, a crossbow can be held in one hand. Equip up to 2 or more types of bolts to give yourself immediate options in battle. Bows are just overall better. Like, the crossbow is nice because, yeah, you can use it with one hand, but 95% of the time, bows are better. Or maybe it's just the light crossbow, now that I think about it. Because I was going to say, the reason why bows are better is that they actually scale. But the heavy crossbow and the Avalon might also scale. I'm not sure, I don't remember. Swervestar EX asks, so regarding characters lying to you, is this something everyone does consistently, or is it something specific characters do? Does the way they lie tell you anything lore-wise? I'm going to take a second and answer this question, because it's actually a really interesting question, because there's multiple parts to it. So first off, is this something everyone does consistently? No. There are characters that flat out tell you the truth. They tell you exactly what's going on, at least from their perspective. So, you could construe that as a lie of omission, but it's not necessarily a lie of omission if the character has no idea what's going on. It's not something every single character does. It is something that certain characters do, like Pate. I believe that Pate is a liar, right? I believe that he tells us things that might necessarily be accurate, but are not entirely true. We'll get into that a little bit more as we encounter Pate more along our journey, because he's kind of the prime example in Dark Souls 2 of a character who will either blatantly lie to your face or give you misinformation. Tell you something that might technically be accurate, but is untrue. And the last part, does the way they lie tell you anything lore-wise? Yes, it does. It tells you about that character. It might tell you about their motivations. It might tell you about what they're trying to achieve. You know, it might tell you what that character's role is in context of the world. And yes, it does tell you other things more specifically related to the lore, less focused on the specific character and more about the lore. We'll talk about these ideas, about these kind of design concepts a little bit more when we get to them again. But as a general rule of thumb, keep that in mind, that some characters are intentionally lying to us. That things that they say may not be entirely true. Or things that they say may not be true at all. And I will... Whoa. Just watch some guy jump off the building. Like, okay, I guess your life wasn't worth it. Then we have this guy who dropped down. Let's see what he's gonna do. Sometimes he attacks us, sometimes he does that and runs right past us. Let's see where he's off to, because he's really off to the races, isn't he? Where did he go? Oh, there he is. Yeah, he ended up exactly where I thought he would. Attacking this giant. That's like a weird pathing thing with the AI. And it has to do with the AI of these specific enemies and the specific actions they're taking. I'll try to remind myself to talk more about what just happened when we get a little bit further. But for now... I want to... Actually, I don't need throwing knives. I have a bow and arrow. Oh my god. Those barrels went flying. In a final act of courage, he kicked barrels at me. Bow and arrows are really good. Ranged attacks in Dark Souls 2 are really, really good. Highly recommend. That's the counter damage. I was making an observation there because in Dark Souls 2 now, I think, the only counter damage that you can deal is with thrusting attacks. In Dark Souls 1, and Dark Souls 3, I think, every weapon deals at least a little bit of counter damage, but thrust attacks deal the most counter damage. In Dark Souls 2, however, it looks like only thrusting weapons might deal counter damage, though I'm not 100% sure on that. This is another dirty little spot here. We can see that this is over water. This is kind of like a small path up to the item over there. But if you walk up here, if you're not careful, you get ambushed by hollows behind you. So it's very easy to get overwhelmed and just fall to your death in this section. And it's a little disheartening because if you kind of don't understand the mindset of the design of these levels, if you don't really understand how enemy placement works and how Dark Souls works, you might not realize where these enemies are coming from. And you might die in this location a few times before you finally realize what's going on. So it's kind of just that dirty game design that I'm not really a big fan of. Here we get the halberd. Halberds are combinations of axes and spears with unique bladed tips. Can be used in spear-like thrust attacks or in axe-like sweeping attacks. The halberd challenges a warrior's skills, but can be a very effective weapon when its two functions are applied properly. We are going to go ahead and throw this on because we can two-hand it. I think you look like a goofus when you're two-handing the halberd. The animation to me is just really, really weird. Probably because of how you're holding it with that forward left hand. I don't think I'm going to get a really good opportunity to kind of display the inconsistency that I'm talking about. But let's try and show it off here. Now, at a distance, when you're hitting with the blade part, 244 damage versus 98 damage when you hit with the hilt. Although that may have just been because he was at low health, but keep that 244 damage number in mind for a second while we look at our leather shield. Large leather shield, I'm sorry. A leather-covered shield preferred by hunters. Inferior to metal shields in terms of stability and physical damage reduction, but easy to use and weighing so little that it hardly requires any strength to bear. It's actually a pretty good shield. It's like 90 physical resistance, which is pretty high. There are metal shields that don't have physical resistance that high. Its stability is only 40, but still, it's a really good shield, a really good lightweight shield. Pick ourselves up some fire arrows and head back out here. Open this shortcut up. We are gonna head back. We're gonna backtrack a little bit here because we still need to clear out the area with Pate. I did not forget about it. I just wanted to open up that shortcut. So hang on, I want to make sure Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was. It's a little bit dangerous because it uses up all of our stamina. So, I was going to show you the back way into this, right? You know what? I still will. I thought about maybe I should just do it the normal way. But I do want to show off the fact that there is a back door into this location. That if you climb up here, we were just over there a few minutes ago, but if you climb up here and go in this direction, you can theoretically jump down there off of this platform, but what you can also do is go ahead and destroy this cart. Takes a few hits. And this is normally where you would come out when you go through this this little section here. You would come out up here and then drop back down to Pate. Fine work. Pointless ahead, but be wary of ambush. It's not really pointless. But there is an ambush, so that at least is accurate. Hey, friends. Get a little Demacian justice going on here. Oh, yeah. The halberd actually is quite a fun weapon. And if you get good at really like the distance between a good hit, like a successful hit, or a kind of off-center hit where you're hitting with just the hilt, it can do a lot of damage. It can do a lot of damage. And this gate still closes on you, even if you do it from the opposite direction, in case you were wondering. That's not all. There's also some treasure here. Some aromatic ooze, and there's a secret wall here. With a treasure chest. That contains a sorcerer's staff and some amber herbs. Sorcerer's staff is a catalyst for spellcasting. The first staff of most sorcerers, a catalyst for both sorceries and hexes. To use sorceries, attune a sorcery at a bonfire and equip a staff. The strength of most sorceries is affected by the caster's intelligence. Of course, we are currently illiterate. We don't know how to read no magic scrolls, so we have no reason for equipping it. But that is a spell casting tool for sorceries. Let's see what Pate has to say now that we cleared this little trial.
Well, I see you managed to escape. I hope that brave warrior didn't come a cropper either. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I forgot again. I want to turn the sound effect volume down.
Oh. But you should take this.
The white sign soapstone.
It allows undead to call out for help to one another across the fissures between worlds. With luck, somebody will lend you a hand. Well, I see you managed to escape. I hope that... Be careful out there.
Okay. So that's all of his dialogue. And he gave us our white sign soapstone. Online play item, leave summon sign. Be summoned as a phantom to another world in order to help that world's master for a certain time. You will be rewarded with a token of fidelity for successfully assisting the other player. The flow of time is distorted in these lands, and the white sign soapstone allows undead to assist one another. So you put this down. I'm going to add that to my bar. You put the white sign soapstone down, and it creates what's called a summon signature, or a summon sign. And you can leave that and wait to be summoned as a phantom. We're not going to go ahead and do that right now, this second. I do want to display that at some point. The only thing with that is it's annoying because it could be a little bit before you get summoned. Truth be told. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and rest at this bonfire here, I think. And before I fight the next boss, to continue Pate's quest, we're gonna have to summon him. Gonna have to make myself human for it. So we'll do that in just a second here. Watch very carefully while we're going down this elevator. There he goes. If you saw it, there's actually an old ironclad standing on the other elevator. And if you're not careful, he will walk off the elevator at the top, and when you go back up, he'll be standing there ready to pound you into dust. Very fancy, friend. Very fancy indeed. Alright, we'll go ahead and use a human effigy here. Use a life gem. We're going to go ahead and summon Mild-Mannered Pate. It's interesting that he is willing to help us. Pate's a fascinating character in my opinion. He really is. Mild-Mannered Pate. Alright, we're going to go ahead. Equip this aromatic ooze. And we're gonna face off here against the last giant. He is really not happy to see us. Really not happy to see us. And it sounds weird right now, but there's a good reason for it. There is in fact a good reason for it. You want to be careful not to get bitch slapped like I just did, let me tell you. See, I don't know if you're watching the damage numbers, but... Oops. But it's kind of like the difference in damage on display here a little bit with the halberd. You are really just acting very stumpy right now, sir. That spinning attack is the exact reason why the halberd is so good. The Soul of the Last Giant and the Soldier Key. The halberd is a actually really good weapon in Dark Souls 2. Although I would say, again, it requires a little bit more skill than other weapons to use. Soul of the surviving giant who was bound below the Forest of the Giants. The Lord of the Giants, who had brought rack and ruin to the entire kingdom, was said to have been felled by an unknown warrior. His beaten and broken remains were then dragged beneath the stronghold where he was sealed away. Use the special soul of the last giant to acquire numerous souls or create something of great worth. Make a mental note here. This last giant that we just faced was the Lord of the Giants. It won't be soon, but that will be relevant information again. We are going to run a little bit longer than our usual 2 hours here today. That's because I just want to finish clearing out the Forest of the Fallen Giants. We have maybe 20 minutes or a half hour of gameplay left in the Forest of the Fallen Giants. And I don't really see the point of kind of splitting it between like tonight and tomorrow if we don't have to. Now this key will open 2 doors, 3 doors. The first one, which is an area we're not going to yet, because this area is designed for a higher power level character than where we're at right now. We can open this door now. We weren't able to open that door before. It was locked. And we can run across this bridge here. We can also open this door, which was locked earlier as well. Which gives us access to a chest. At least one chest, I should say. Ring of Restoration. Let's take a quick look at that. A protective ring passed down in House Osteria gradually restores HP. In the sacred land of Lindelt, this ring symbolized prosperity and longevity for the great House Osteria. But the ring is fragile and breaks easily, and as if it hates being taken for granted. It's kind of a nifty ring. It will slowly regenerate any missing health that you have. So for like, if you're using like a big tower shield and you're playing very slowly and methodically, it's actually a pretty useful ring. We'll use it for now because we don't have anything better to use. Here we have a knight in golden armor who is totally not interested in us right now. And of course we have the Grand Lance here. A great piece of equipment. We can't use it quite yet. We will be able to in a minute. But a lance fashioned from rare gay steel, designed for high-ranking Drangleic knights, hence the decorative design. Gay steel equipment is of the finest make, but gay steel is so rare that very few of these weapons were actually used in combat. Then we have another chest here. Amber herb. And we're going to go ahead and tangle with this guy, see what he drops for us. He's very easy to just parry to death. As I will prove right now. Oh! Come on, man. Parry. Parry. You're done, son. Ah, he didn't drop anything for us. Oh well. Because they're wearing the Cyan Armor Knight, or Cyan Knight Armor, which is a set that I do like. I would have loved to get a piece there, but... And it also talked about producing the symbol of the king, which we'll learn more about later on. I do want to take a short intermission back to Majula here. I think now's a good time to go ahead and do that. Like I said, we are going to go past our 2-hour marker here tonight. Oh, sweet. This is a pretty rare thing for the Emerald Herald to be doing. This is actually a reference to Demon Souls, and it's pretty cool for, like, die-hard Souls fans. From Demon Souls, there was a character called the Maiden in Black. She was your level-up character. And she would sit there kicking her feet exactly like the Emerald Herald is doing right now. It's actually a pretty cool throwback. And it happens pretty infrequently.
Bearer of the curse.
Unfortunately, we need her to level up. Let's see. We can get our strength to 16, which isn't enough to one-hand it. So we'll probably just sit pretty at 11 for now. And then we could bring our vitality up to 20, which wouldn't be terrible. But I want to start bringing up my adaptability as well as my intellect, actually. Now, there's a few things that I really want to start bringing up. We're going to bring our intelligence up to 10. And we will throw a point into endurance, I think, for now. Yeah, why not? Actually, no. I'm going to save those souls. So I can spend them over here first, before I forget. We should now be able to two-hand the Grand Lance. Which is very nice. I'm gonna go ahead and buy out some of these life gems and see what else she has to say, if anything.
Everyone's so stingy around here. Everyone's so stingy everywhere. You're my only customer. Don't make me beg. Now buy something. We call this place Majula. Not too special, if you ask me. It's just the place where everyone seems to end up. Everyone's so
okay, that's all. That's all of it.
Thank you.
Her dialogue for now. Let's go just check in on Moglin real quick. Alright, so he's not advanced to his next stage of his quest yet. In the meanwhile, we will head back to Cardinal Tower and round this area out. There's literally like 5, maybe 10 minutes of exploration left that we're gonna take care of right now. Like I mentioned, there is a couple more areas in this zone that we're just going to ignore for the time being because they're designed for higher level players. Higher level characters, rather. But for now, we're going to go ahead back over here. There we go. This is unupgraded. And it's one-shotting these guys. 363 damage. This is why it is called the... it's the easy peasy way to clear Scholar of the First Sin. It's kind of interesting because the Grand Lance in... Whoa! The Grand Lance in the original Dark Souls 2 was located much later on in the game. I think moving this weapon was a deliberate decision to give players access to a strong weapon early on in the game, so if they were really struggling with it, they could, you know, pick up the Grand Lance and have it to use as kind of a crutch. And we are going to very, very shamelessly, for this playthrough, lean on this massive, massive crutch. Such a good weapon. I think it looks awesome, too. I kind of like the weird kind of like corkscrew design that it's got going on. I don't know. It is two-shotting these guys, but these guys are in much, much better armor, to be totally fair. These are Royal Knights that we're facing. If they'll be so kind to drop one of their armor pieces for us, we can learn more about them. How you like me now, huh? Don't like that charge too much, do ya? So this... I think there's an item over here that I always forget about. There is. Soul of Nameless Soldier and a life gem. This is actually where you would fight the Pursuer if you did not defeat him where we did, back on the lower level of the area in the first hour of tonight's stream. So this is normally the battlefield for the Pursuer. Kind of challenging because of the fact that there's this wall here. It's very easily to accidentally go flying off the map. No, I know what you're thinking, and no, the Pursuer cannot also go flying off the map. That'd be pretty cool, though. That'd be some interesting design. Now, earlier we saw those hollows drop down and run past us. I don't know if you remember that, but what actually goes on there is, for some reason, the AI on these two particular enemies bug out. They will drop down and go to do this same thing, attack the corpse of the giant, just in a different location. I don't know why it happens other than some sort of bug in their AI, but we'll go ahead, put the poor bastards out of their misery. Alas, nothing happened. Right. We have a bird's nest right here that we can interact with. I'm not going to do that quite yet, because there's one last thing that I want to make sure I pick up. And that is this right here. The Drangleic set. Very heavy equipment, but very, very good. We have the Drangleic sword. Great sword of Drummond, Royal Army Captain. An old and unadorned sword, perhaps, but the pride and joy of this venerable captain. An heirloom passed from grandfather to father, and then from father to son. Drummond and those before him used this sword to repel those who would threaten their great land. And they say it doesn't look that cool, but I think it looks pretty cool. It reminds me a lot of Artorias' great sword. Kind of a weird moveset on this one when you're two-handing it. Go ahead and go back to our Grand Lance. And then I'm actually going to drop down here real quick so we have a little bit more space to do this. We have the Drangleic set, the Drangleic mail. Traditional Drangleic armor belonged to Captain Drummond. Drummond's ancestors have severed Drangleic. Let me try that again. Drummond's ancestors have served Drangleic for generations, principally as defenders of the Great Fort, but Captain Drummond is the last in his proud line. It is very heavy armor, but it looks pretty cool with the cape and everything. Then, of course, we have the Drangleic shield. Captain Drummond's shield, even with its embossing terribly worn, the shield exudes pride and authority. An heirloom passed from grandfather to father and then from father to son, yada yada yada. That's the Drangleic shield. A pretty cool design. This all weighs 88.1% of our carry weight though, so the result of that is we roll like a turd. Gonna go ahead, switch back to our lighter stuff here. So that rounds out the Force of the Fallen Giants for the time being. Like I mentioned earlier, we will be back here again later on in the playthrough. We've got to pick up more stuff. We've got another area that we want to take a look at. But we want to be a little bit higher level when we do that. So for now, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to get a short sneak peek of the next zone. Well, not really the next zone. We'll come back to this at a later point. We're going to end up in the Lost Bastille. But we'll get a quick sneak peek of it. There's 2 more areas that we're gonna clear out before we actually make it to the Lost Bastille and really push through it and clear it out. But for now, this gives us a bonfire. Always appreciated. We have a couple of chests. A couple of human effigies and the dull ember. I'm going to read this off real quick. It's right here. Oh, I forgot to read the soldier key too. I'll do that now. Key to the soldier's door in the Forest of the Fallen Giants. A fort was erected in the forest to face the giants, but now the soldiers are lost and hollowed. They are enfeebled, but not without honor, and continue to steadfastly defend their country. So, it's really kind of talking about what I was talking about earlier, how, like, the soldiers there have hollowed out, but they still fight to defend Drangleic. Like, they fall back on kind of muscle memory in a sense, where this is what they knew in life, and it's what they'll continue to do in undeath. Dull ember. An ember radiating a dull light. This flame seems nearly exhausted, but exhibits an eerie resilience. Perhaps this is its ordinary state. I wonder what that's for. Well, I know what it's for, but we'll learn more about it soon enough. I just warped to the bonfire that we're sitting at. Why did I do that? I do that all the time. I do that all the time. I do that really frequently. We want to go back to Majula. That's where we want to be. Majula is where the dream happens. Gonna go ahead and pop some of these souls that we picked up.
There. Seek.
Let's see what we can level up here. We have 2 levels. We can bring our strength up some. Oh, you know what I want to do first before I spend anything on levels? Is I want to start reinforcing our weapon. Now that we have the weapon that we're pretty much going to be using for the whole playthrough, we're going to go ahead and reinforce it. We can bring it up to +3. We can actually bring it up to +4, even better. And I do kind of like to have a area of effect weapon. Generally, the fire longsword is a good offhand weapon, but we'll worry about that a little bit more in the near future, because I think what I'm going to end up doing is using the Grand Lance as a primary weapon here, and then use the broadsword as our offhand weapon. I think I'm gonna like that combination a lot. Otherwise, I guess we can just finish this up by buying some arrows.
I'll be around.
Not much else we can buy. Alright. This is where the stream for tonight is going to end. I personally would love to continue playing tonight. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really feeling it tonight. I don't know if you can tell that or not. But it is 1:10 in the morning, and I know that people have to get to work. It is Tuesday. As much as I would love to continue streaming, I'm going to stop here for now. I will be back tomorrow at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope to see you then. Have a great and enjoyable night. For those of you watching on YouTube, I also hope you have a great and enjoyable night. No reason to not enjoy your day, even if you're watching this a day from when it actually went live. Swervestar EX, thank you for stopping by. You have a wonderful night. You are going to see the camera cut out here, and then you'll see my character here for a minute or so, and then the stream's going to end. I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. Doop. I said doop. There we go. Have a good night.